Hi, I'm Sarah and you're watching Acid Burn Say It, and today I'm going to be talking about some of my statistics for so far this year of what I have read. So yes, let's hop into it. I post every Thursday, sometimes on a Tuesday, depending on how my week's going, how organised I am for the week. But yeah, it was sunny and now it's raining. If you like this video, hit the like button, and if you want more of my content, please subscribe so that you don't miss whenever I post. And I'm sorry if you hear Artemis walking about. She is just toddling about. So originally my Goodreads goal for this year was 100 books. I have put that down a bit. I can't remember what I have put it down to at the moment, but I definitely have put it down because I'm definitely not going to reach 100 books this year. We are in July. We are near the end of July and I have got 49 books so far at this read. So this is not going from June itself. This is going from July because that is when I have compiled my figures. So yeah, so I've read 49 books so far this year. I have read a total of pages, 18,801 pages this year so far. The longest book I have read is Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare, which was 778 pages. The shortest book that I have read so far is Sacred Hospitality by Olivie Blake, and that is a short story that is a combination story from the Atlas 6, and that was 31 pages. I have read 27 new authors so far this year, and I have repeated 10 new authors. So that means that the repeat authors are just authors that I've read before, that 37 does not equal 49. That means that the 10 authors, may have read multiple ones of the 10 authors, or the new to the author this year, I have read, for example, their series rather than just the one book. On my star ratings, so far this year, I haven't starred 3 books. One of them was a memoir, and that was Mel C's, and I didn't really want to give it a star rating. The second one was It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. For some odd reason, I decided not to give that a rating. I think it was because I was undecided. And I don't want to give it a rating right now. Number 3 was Farinheit 451 by Bradbury, and that was a bit complicated, and I decided not to give it a rating because it was a dystopian and it's set in the future, and I decided not to rate it. It was very good, but I decided not to rate it. I have one 1-star book, which, surprise, was Maybe Not by Colleen Hoover, and if you have watched my videos before, you know that I really did not like that book. So I have 2 2-stars, and I have 18 3-star books, and I have 21 4-star books, which is the most out of all the stars so far. And I have 4 books that got 5 stars, and when I looked at my 5-star books that I gave, I was like, oh yeah, because it's a bit of a mixed bag. Some of them I'm like, what was I thinking when I gave them 5 stars? So the oldest book that I read was in 1953, and that was Farinheit 451 by Bradbury, which we've already talked about. And then my next oldest would be the Virgin River books by Robin Carr, which were published in 2007. So there's a great big gap in between those two. Mostly I found the books that I read are mostly the 2020s. Now we're into the fun part. I read 23 adult books, 1 middle grade book. I read 20 YA books, and I read 1 new adult. I'm surprised that the YA books weren't in the lead, that it was more adult books. But now this one I'm not surprised about, because this next one I only read 8 physical books and 42 audiobooks. Now, the reason that it equals 50 and not 49 is because I find if I have a physical copy of a book, I will listen to the audiobook and read at the exact same time. So I probably counted one twice, but some of the other ones I think I decided not to count. But usually if I have the book itself and the audiobook is in the library, I will borrow the audiobook and listen to it as I read. So I'm not surprised that audiobook wins over physical copies, because I find I walk the dog an awful lot, so it's easier to listen to an audiobook while I walk. And this one I am not surprised about either. I read, out of the books that I read, 32 I borrowed from the library, 12 were off my own TBR, and 5 were brand new books that I went out and bought and then read quite quickly after I bought them. So 12 of them were on my own TBR and 5 I bought myself. So I'm not surprised about that, because I have been using my local library to borrow books from with the app Libby, and I've been loving it. I really have. Now, my genres. I read 4 memoirs, 2 essay books. Now, I say essay books, one of them was Matt Haig, the Comfort book, which was about him, essays that he wrote about dealing with depression, how to deal with depression. And it was very good. I highly recommend it. The second essay, non-fiction essays, is Dear Dolly and this is some of the advice that she has given on the Sunday Times, a agony aunt for the Sunday Times, and I didn't know how to class them, so I classed them as essays, because that's just easier to class them as essays. I read 19 fantasy books, 17 romance books. I didn't realize I'd read so many romance books, but oops. I read 3 historical fictions, 2 contemporary fictions, and 2 thrillers. Now, I'm not surprised that the fantasy bit is the highest, but I'm surprised I read as many romance so far this year as I have, and historical fiction. I'm surprised that I've read 3 historical fictions, but so yes, all in all, that means I have read 43 fictional books and 6 non-fictions. I also have DNF'd 1 book this year, the Alan Rickman Diaries. And that's because I found it weird. I didn't like it, I didn't like the setup, and I was listening to it on audiobook and I really didn't like it. I just thought it was very impersonal, and I didn't get someone else went through notes that he had taken. It wasn't even like a proper diary, it was like notes he had taken and compiled it, and I didn't like the setup and I didn't feel comfortable with it, so I just DNF'd it. I may go back to it a separate time, but yeah. So that's my figures. I don't know if anyone has found it even remotely interesting, but yes, comment and tell me how many books you've read so far this year, and what's been your favourite genre this year. What genre has surprised you that has crept in this year that you didn't realise had crept in? For me, it was definitely romance. I really didn't think I'd read that many romance, but clearly I have. Clearly I have. I'll leave this with you, and thank you so much for watching. And I hope to see you again. Bye. Thank you. Bye.